I'm telling you guys, this past year, not only did it win me money, but caught a lot of fish and big ones at that. If you're not throwing these, you need to. You guys have seen, if you follow the channel, I posted my top 5 biggest bass of 2024, but I really wanted to circle back. And while those are the top 5 biggest fish I caught in 2024, those really weren't just the most effective baits and lures that I found in 2024. That's really gonna lead into 2025, which is why I'm making this video for you guys. Because if you're not throwing these baits, you're really missing out, because 1, they're fish catchers, and 2, they catch big fish. And that's what we want to do as anglers. We want to catch a lot of fish, and we want to have a chance at some big ones. So these baits I'm showing you are ones in my mind, in my experience, especially in 2024, which was highlighted, that these baits caught a lot of fish, but they also gave me the window and the opportunity to catch big ones if the opportunity was presented. And stick around for the end. I do have an honorable mention, maybe something a little secret, that if you're not doing it with your baits, you need to try it, because it does make a difference. I found a big difference in it for 2024 that I'll continue into 2025. And as always, the baits that we'll run through will be linked to Omnia Fishing down below. Use code SERIOUS10 and save yourself 10% off your order. So let's get into it. I'm gonna start off with one that didn't catch the biggest of fish. It was one in the top 5, almost a 7-pound New York largemouth. But it is one that I think is one of the most fun to use. It's a 4x4 bait. It is the swim jig of a top water bait selection, one that you can throw it in the crap, you can throw it laydowns, grass, so many different places you can throw this bait. And quite simply, that is a buzzbait. Let's make sure to get slow-mos of these baits too. 2024 was a big year for me with the buzzbait. Now there's multiple buzzbaits I actually use that I really, really like. All of them come from True South Customs. I'll link those down below. They're actually not on Omnia, but I will leave the link for you guys to go check those out. I highly encourage you to get some, because just a different squeal made a big difference for me this year. So there's 2 that I use. One, I typically like to go naked on my buzzbaits. Naked meaning skirtless. I like to have them just like this, where basically it's just your buzzbait and the trailer. Now I use this one, which is one that I found was very, very good with skipping. It's a single buzzbait, very loud. This is one where it's like overhanging trees, things like that. Got myself a lot of bites, but also there's a twin buzzbait version. So it has, instead of just the 1 prop, it has the 2 props. I have some on the way. I actually don't have any more on me. Wore them out this year on those bad boys. But I feel like the buzzbait is almost getting lost. Obviously in the topic of conversation, in the rave of new baits and with technology and things like that, it might be getting overshadowed some. But I feel like the buzzbait's still one. It's just loud, it's obnoxious, it's in their face. One, you're gonna get bites, and if you're not getting bites, you're gonna see the attention from fish. You're still gonna have stuff boiling on it. Because quite simply, the buzzbait just pisses fish off. And this is that single buzz toad. I'll drop the link down to it below, but it has a nice little body. This is from Zoom. Nice wide little body. Allows that to skip like an absolute dream. That's one of my favorite trailers for the buzzbait, but any craw, any creature bait, obviously don't go too obnoxious with appendages, because the more appendages that you have on it, the harder it is going to be to skip, especially if that's your goal. If you're fishing grass flats, things like that, that doesn't matter too much. But I find that the more you add on to your trailer, the less that your actual buzzer is going to be able to work. So keep it simple, but you also want to have something that does have some action there on the end. But for me, where I'm using a buzzbait, it's a 4x4, overhanging trees, long timber, things like that. That's where I really like, and I feel like I excel with throwing the buzzbait. With that too, I'll link some videos down below too where I caught fish on these. So you guys can watch like full intended fishing clips. I won't drop those in here, because the point of this is to give you guys the information that you're looking for by clicking on this video, which I do appreciate you taking time out of your day to click on this video. If you haven't yet, click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the next bait. So now this next one, you're gonna tell me, duh, dude. Like, everybody knows this catches fish. Everybody knows it can catch big fish, but I want to put a little twist on this that I don't think many people are doing, that I find almost exclusively I'm doing now. And that is Texas rigging a Senko or stick bait. So as you can see right there, it seems very simple, but if you look closer, there's something else going on in there. Now, if you can see that eyelet right there, and I'll do more up close for this for you guys, but right there, see that eyelet? That can move around. So what this here is a ringed EWG. Now this is one, you can go and buy them anywhere. A bunch of brands obviously make them now. This one is from Gamakatsu. This is a ringed EWG, Superline. I make my own, and we'll save that for another video, but I make my own because I like some different hooks. These are great out of the pack. Gamakatsu hooks. So one thing I have found about with these though is they do dull very fast. The fish that you do get on them, you stick them great, but the hook points roll over fairly quickly. So what I've done, because I throw this so much and I find that it makes a bigger difference, is I've gone to making my own, which again, that'll go in a later video. I'll show you guys how to do that. But simply what this does, instead of your bullet weight and your bait being snug together, which in some flipping cases, especially with thicker vegetation, you want that. And I'll still do that, where I won't have the ringed EWG. I'll just have direct line tie. But in this case, where your bait's gonna fall, like so, where it's snug to that head, instead, now your bait's gonna have some freedom to be able to do its thing. And this is stuff I've done not only just with stick baits, but with creature baits, craws, beavers, things of that nature, and I found it makes a difference. But in this case, what I've actually done is almost kind of make my own little swing head, if you will, because now you can flip this. But one thing I found, and I've tested this, and I think what I'll do is I'll feature this in a video this coming year, is I will Texas rig one without the ring EWG, just a normal EWG to the bullet weight. I'll have one that is ringed, and I will drag. I really love to drag a stick bait. I find it gets me a lot of bites, especially when you have some hard cover, but especially around grass. Any sort of structure that you have on bottom, you can't go wrong with dragging a stick bait. And just like dragging a worm or a ribbon tail, it's just one that's a little bit more simpler. But I find that with that ring WG, just takes it to a whole different level that allows that bait to be a little bit more free. And what I do with the bullet weight as well is I won't have the bullet weight snug to the head. What I'll do is I'll peg it, but I'll peg it probably like 2 or 3 inches above here so that bullet weight can slide up and down from the bait. Now what that's going to do is actually make a little bit of noise. I'll put in the mic here. So when it slides back down to the head, it makes a little bit of noise. But also when following and picking it up, it almost has a similar action to that of a free rig, where it allows that bait, whatever you have on there, to be a little bit more loose. So that is one that I found to be an advantage. And it's a little bit different, a little bit of a different twist on the Texas rig. This is one I think Seth Feider has introduced to the people of throwing the ringed EWG on like craw tubes, things like that when he was flipping on Lake Champlain. But if you've not tried the ring EWG, I encourage you to give that a rip. For flipping, for dragging, something a little bit different. Now, the third one. You see me talk about it, especially if you guys have been on the channel for a while, you see me talk about it, throw it. I think this bait, literally I have more confidence in this than a wacky rig to get me bites, and it gets freaking big bites too. This is just one I have so much confidence in. I throw in at docks, throwing at laydowns, throwing around grass, current for smallmouth, the list goes on. And it's one it's tried, it's true. Every company's trying to make their own now. And that simply is the Megabass Mag Draft. And so this bad boy, I just literally have so much confidence in. I have thrown a couple different brands. I'm experimenting with more. I know there's been talk of different brands that make them. I think it's a good thing that more brands make them, because the more options we have, the better. Something that fish can see differently, things that we can do to rig things a little bit different, and also gives us options. Because quite frankly, the Mag Draft is great, but it does have downfalls. Downfalls as in, it is limited to the amount of speeds that you can swim it at, but it also is limited in the amount of fish that you can catch on. Granted that can vary. I've had this Mag Draft last for 2 fish, and I've had it last for 20. So it really varies on the bites you're getting, how aggressive they are, where they're biting it, how they're biting it. So just like a Senko, sometimes it's a miracle if you can get more than 2 fish on a Senko or even 1. But while the Mag Draft can be fragile, it definitely does catch fish. And what I like to do with this, and I'll show you, there's a couple modifications that I like to do on my Mag Draft. You can fish it out of the pack just like so, and that can go for any brand, where you can basically just take it out of the pack, put your treble hook in there, and just go. And you can catch fish doing that. It will sink very slowly. You will have to note that out of the pack, being lighter, you will have to reel. You're basically limited to 1 speed. It's a kind of slow roll speed, and it freaking catches fish. But there's one thing I found that I like to do much more on my Mag Draft. So I'm going to show you guys right here. First and foremost, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a highlighter. I'm going to take this highlighter, and I'm going to go here at the nose and the underbelly of this bait. This is one I picked up from my buddy Benjamin Nowak, who does this with jerk baits, and I thought, why not with swim baits? We've seen on the IU colors, sometimes that they'll have that little bit of chartreuse by the head. Basically the idea of this is to give fish a place to pinpoint, versus if they're bumping the tail, you're thinking that if you can put a color here, that maybe that'll give them something to pinpoint and hopefully they'll get those treble hooks better. You can do this with chartreuse. I've seen people do it with red. I personally love doing it with chartreuse. The Sharpie is dying, so it's not working as well. What I have done actually is use like my garlic marker, but you can kind of get the point here. I got a little bit of chartreuse on that underbelly. It's not showing up great due to this Sharpie being crappy, but you get the idea. I like to do that with these because it gives them something to pinpoint, and in my personal opinion, I don't think it hurts anything. Secondly, what I will do is to allow me to swim this bait a little bit faster, is I'll take a little nail weight right there and put that in the underbelly of my mag draft. So what I'll do, get rid of that ring harness here. That way I get access to the belly. And so typically on this bait, when you put that treble hook down, you can see where this is inserted. So I don't want to obstruct this at all. I don't want to get in this way because I want that hook to be able to come out as easy as possible when a fish bumps it, so I'm not affecting the hookup ratio. So what I'll do is, you can see this section right here, that is in play. That is where I'm going to find the slot, and I'm going to insert my nail weight. So insert it like so. So now that is inside the belly there. I don't even know if you can see that because it's so tucked away. But right in there, we got our nail weight. And what that's going to do, now we put the harness back in, that is going to allow us to throw, you might be able to see that nail weight a little bit in there in that somewhat translucent body, but that's going to allow us to throw this bait a little bit faster. More weight allows that bait to be a little bit more centered. Do your best to keep that nail weight straight, because if it's off a little bit, it can obviously throw off on if your bait's wobbling or not. But it allows me to reel that bait a little bit faster, sink a little bit slower, so I can, especially if I'm going to keep slow reeling it, but allows it to get down a little bit more so I can, as I'm slow reeling it, it can fall a little bit, reach some different depths. Just changes things up. So I encourage you to give that a rip, give those a try, because the mag draft straight up just gets bit. It is so good around cover. It is so good with big fish, numbers of fish, because I've caught anything from pound and a halfers to 7-pounders on this bait. It just freaking works. Now you can get it in the 8-inch, 10-inch. This is across the board. They all get bit, but the 6-inch in my mind is the one to throw all across the country to just get numbers of bites. But I encourage you to give other brands a try. Berkley Cull Shad, the Spro, the Dangerous Swimbait. That is one that I actually really am excited to try, especially for deeper fish. The Fast Sink one that has that top hook. It's like basically a line through with a top hook, especially for deeper fish. I'm excited to try that one this year. I've caught a couple fish on it so far, but I've not had the opportunity to fish it the way I wanted to fish it yet, which I'll show you guys later video this year. And so that is the 3 right there. That is my top 3. But I told you guys at the end of this video that I'd be doing an honorable mention. So when it's actually not a bait, it's a modification you can do to your baits. And that is for mainly soft plastics. You know, and this is one where I figured out this year, especially for my folk that like to use a jig head minnow, this has been a big game changer. And I hate using that word, but it really has changed with some finicky fish, especially when you're on pressured fisheries. Fish are used to seeing that jig head minnow and they chase it, never eat it. Or you're dragging something on bottom and you can see them following you, and you know those fish are there and they're not eating, or they're bumping it and not taking it all the way. We've all had instances where we're throwing a football jig or a big worm and we get thumped, and you know it's a bass. And you reel in, they're just not there. You're like, dang, they're picking it up and they're not taking it. Now, one thing I do like doing out of stock, if you don't want to go this route, Berkley Max Scent is great. I'm a big believer in Max Scent. I'm a big believer in scent, and that's why we're going this route of this honorable mention. And that is powder. Powder has become a rave. And for good reason, I think, especially the specific brands. I've gone and splurged on the different amount of powders that you can get for bass fishing right now. I've noticed a big difference in throwing baits normally, and then at the same fish, I then go and experiment, and I will throw powder on that bait and throw back at that same fish and then get them to bite. Now, a great instance for a story here to tell you guys is I was out on Lake Lanier. I was with my buddy Louie. You guys seen that video I just posted a couple videos back. And essentially, I was on these spotted bass with Lanier. They get so much pressure, but there's so many fish, and they're in schools, and obviously these bass learn from each other. You can throw at a school, and you're going to catch one quick out of that school. Maybe there's 30 fish in there, but it seems almost impossible to get that second fish to bite, because they chase it, they follow it, they come to the boat, and you'll drop down, especially if you're using forward-facing sonar, or even on 2D, you can see, you can drop down, and they'll chase it again, but a lot of them won't eat it. and it's very frustrating. So I ended up trying powder. I was able to get, instead of 1 fish out of, say, a 30 fish school, I was able to get 3 or 4. So it's not huge numbers, but it's making a difference in putting that powder on your baits. So try that. I've done it with big worms this year. You know, when we're talking about dragging a Senko or another bait on bottom, I've noticed a big difference in coating that with powder. Just give it a shot, especially if you're in that instance where you've had that happen to you. It definitely excels more, I feel like, in the summer months, but have you seen, like with pro anglers like Takumi Ito, you know, guys like that have found success year-round with these things. They almost exclusively throw them. So especially if you live on pressured fisheries, this is a good one to try. Again, I'll link all this stuff down below to Omnia Fishing. If some of it's not in stock, what you can do is click the email when it's in stock notification, and that's a big one that basically once it goes into stock, you get a notification to your phone saying, hey, it's in stock, come get it while it lasts. So take advantage of that. Now these 3 baits, as I said, they're nothing crazy out of the norm, but there's ones that I think that are either not being used enough, or it's a twist on these baits that I think can help you catch more fish than if you were to use it as the mass population's already using it. Some of it I really didn't want to tell you guys, like the ringed EWG and the powder and things like that. But I want you guys to catch fish. I want you to have fun. I mean, the point of this channel, again, is to learn and to keep learning ourselves and teach you guys what we are learning. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Again, like, subscribe. We got a down month here in February where everything's iced up here in the north. So we're going to be putting out videos like this for the coming weeks, at least for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe get some stuff here in the studio and the man cave. We'll show you guys around. But March 3rd, we're actually headed down to Tennessee to go fish with Rudd again, fish with some buddies. And then we're spending almost the whole month of March in Texas, chasing some big old Texas bass. So we got a week of fun fishing down in Texas. And then we got the Bassmaster Kayak Series Championship that's on Lake Fork to get ready for. And we'll be staying with my buddy Casey Reed for that event. So you got practice videos to look forward to, tournament videos to look forward to. We're going to be at the Bassmaster Classic floating around with the Serious Angler crew. So you guys can look forward to there. Comment down below if you're going to be there. We'd love to see you guys at the Classic Expo. And at the end of March, we're going to California, which we'll just keep that on the down low for now. We got a lot to look forward to. More videos coming. It's going to be a crazy month of March. We're getting ready for it here at home, and we're bringing you guys along with all that prep, things like that. More videos like this to try to teach you guys more things about bassing that I've learned. Hopefully this helped you. Comment down below if it did. Appreciate y'all for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.